Welcome to the Remarkable Riparian Digital Short Course, an online education series covering the basics of riparian understanding. This self-paced learning program is produced by the Nueces River Authority in Texas, but the concepts presented here are pretty much universal to all natural waterways. Lesson 5 will show the interaction between soil and water in riparian areas and how channel degradation occurs when these are out of balance. We like to call this lesson Cowboy Hydrology. But first, let's make sure we have a common understanding of what riparian means. This is a term that has really only come into common usage in Texas in the past 10 to 15 years, even among land management professionals. A riparian area or zone is the part of the landscape that flanks rivers and streams, shown in blue on this picture. This includes the stream bank, floodplain, plants, soils, and rocks that make up the ribbon of land that flanks the waterway. Areas adjoining lakes and reservoirs are also considered riparian, but this short course will focus mainly on rivers and streams. Let's look at the principles of river channel evolution, or how rivers are shaped and sized by their catchment areas. A channel is naturally designed to carry the amount of energy, water, and sediment delivered by the catchment it serves. As we learned in Lesson 4, the bank full flow shapes the channel. During floods, the channel fills up. Bank full flow is exceeded, and water spills out onto the floodplain. As it spreads out through thick vegetation, the floodwater energy is dissipated. The floodwater slows down and begins to soak in and saturate the soils of the floodplain, replenishing the stores of water held in the banks. We call this the riparian sponge, and it is this shallow water table that provides base flow for the river between rains. The riparian sponge gives stored water back to the stream during dry times. Removing vegetation in the riparian area or further up in the watershed can increase flood energy in the stream. This can put extra pressure on the stream banks and channel, causing them to erode. When a stream channel receives more flood energy than it's designed to handle, the channel widens and deepens to accommodate that extra energy. The channel will continue to widen and deepen until it reaches a size that can accommodate the new energy. The new channel will be lower and wider than the original one. When a channel downcuts, it drains the water held in the land and lowers the water table. Eventually, the river will adapt to the new higher energy runoff and, if unhindered, it can build a new floodplain and new water table connections, but at a lower elevation. Downcutting also separates streams from their floodplains. The same stream flow that once would spill over the banks onto the floodplain now remains inside the channel. All the energy that would have been dissipated in the floodplain is now banging against the sides and bottom of the channel, causing further erosion. Hill country stream channels are often perched over bedrock, but they work the same way. The riparian area gives stored water back to the stream during dry times. When hill country stream channels receive more energy than they are designed to carry, they get wider instead of deeper. But the result is the same. Less water stored in the land. Much of the riparian sponge, shown in brown, has all been washed away. Pictured here is an example of a hill country stream channel that has received more flood energy than it could accommodate. It has washed out and become overly wide, exposing the bedrock. When a stream channel becomes overly wide, it can no longer efficiently transport sediment. Base flow is spread very thin, and even what was bank full is now too shallow to reach the floodplain. When the width-to-depth ratios become so out of balance, fish habitat can suffer dramatically. Downcutting and overwidening are predictable results of changes in land cover within the watershed or catchment area. Landscape scale clearing, development, paving, new roads and roofs can increase the amount of energy runoff reaching the creek or river. Changes within a watershed or catchment area have an effect on the river channel. These changes can be accurately predicted using the principles of Lane's balance. As an example, when new parking lots are built within a watershed or catchment area, runoff can increase. On the scale, the right side tips down. The arrow in the center of the scale moves left, towards erosion or degradation, as seen in this photo. One of the ways the river adjusts for this change is to make its channel less steep, perhaps by adding meander or crookedness, as discussed in Lesson 1. As you can see, if you move the pitcher of water a few notches to the left towards the flat end of the slope ruler, the right side will lift up, bringing the river back into balance. The erosion, which was the initial reaction to more runoff from new parking lots, creates new sediments to be deposited on meander bends, causing the river to carve a more crooked path and reduce the slope of its channel. The system is always working to return to a balanced relationship. Pictured here is an example of channel degradation caused by paving and development within the watershed or catchment area of this small creek in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Extreme and recurring bank erosion, channel downcutting or widening, and excessive deposition of sediment are common indicators that a creek or river system may be out of balance and attempting to reestablish equilibrium. In Lesson 6, we will look at ways that the sediment and water relationship, as shown by Lane's balance, can be buffered by a diverse mix of riparian vegetation.